Top of the morning to you, brains. How you doing? How you feeling? I hope it's real good because I'm counting on you. Okay. Today, all the way from Oxford, England. Yes, across the pond to the UK. We have the wonderful, amazing Sarah Ross. Sarah is here to talk to us about our reason, your reason to breathe. Suicide prevention, what's going on. I've had a couple of these interviews going on. People are in a tender place. We want to wake them up. We want to know that they're not alone. And she's come all the way here to talk about her experience, her coaching, her book, and all the wonderful things that she's doing in the world. Brains, help me welcome to the edge, Sarah Ross from Oxford, England. Hi, baby.
Hi, April. How are you?
Exceptional, girl. I tell you, if I was doing any better, I'd have to kill myself.
Oh, no, let's not go there. No.
So a little pun on the words and play on the words. Thank you so much for being brave enough to share this and to walk this walk with others here that are, brains that are on the edge,
Brains.
that are scared, that are afraid of what's going on in their life and feel that they have no outlet. Tell us a little bit about you and your story. We want to hear all about it.
So, yes, I now live in Oxford, England. I've been here 2 years. Before that, I lived in Switzerland, in the mountains, surrounded by great countryside. But quite frankly, it was still a place to work. I didn't see much of the country because I was working 60, 70-hour weeks at a pharmaceutical company.
So you were in Big Pharma, huh?
I was in Big Pharma. And yeah, with Big Pharma, they expect their pound of flesh. You get paid well, the benefits are good, but there are deliverables and everything's on that big scale, big stage. So yeah, it has to get done no matter what.
Wow. And so you were in charge of a large team as well? A lot of people?
Yes. So I was Chief Compliance Officer for emerging markets. We looked after 50 different countries, 14 time zones, everything from Malaysia and Vietnam through to Peru, Ecuador, the Caribbean, and all those countries that end in Stan up in Russia. I had a team working for me, 21 people, but all of them had about 10%, 20% of their time was actually allocated to compliance with me.
Wow. And so what does that look like when it comes to a personal life? I mean, 60, 70 hours? What's that?
For most of the time that I held that role, I was traveling 85% of the time. So I would get home on a Friday night, Saturday morning, and leave again Monday morning. Most of the time, the people in the office didn't know who I was or whether, my desk was usually free. So anybody could sit there. And yeah, I would go out for dinner with friends and realize that it had been 4 or 6 months since I'd seen them.
And so that doesn't leave a lot for love life or family.
No, absolutely. So I was in a relationship and he was getting incredibly stressed at work and I was never home because I was always on an airplane or, recovering from jet lag. So I basically gave up that job to take a sort of desk role so that I could be closer to him, at home more, and actually support him through stress and depression that he was suffering.
Did he appreciate that?
No, because 3 months after I shifted from what had been my dream job, I was working with cultures all across the world. That's me. That's what makes me shine, smile, whatever. To this desk job that I didn't really want, but I wanted to save my relationship. He left me and moved to the other side of the world.
Well, he blew it.
He blew it big time.
So spring forward to tell me how this started to burn you out and you started to look at things a little bit differently from a different lens.
Well, I definitely grieved the relationship with him. I was like, what am I going to do? Nobody will ever love me again. Sort of, you start to get depressed. And then my body started to give me warning signs that I was doing too much, not resting properly, and I ignored them. So I had a lot of dental work done. I had implants in my jaw that wouldn't actually take. So my body was rejecting even dental work.
Wow.
And it got to the point where, I have for years suffered with migraines, but they would be like once a month, once every couple of months. And by the time I was fully burnt out, we were talking 25, 26 days a month.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You know, I've had headaches. I've never had a migraine, but I heard those migraines will put you under. You know, you have
Yeah.
to be in a dark place. You can't stand noise, certain smells, anything can just take you from a flicker to a flame.
Yeah, I would wake up not being able to see. Sometimes it was like small dots in front of your eyes. Sometimes it would be like half my vision was gone. I would be in a dark room with a ice cold pillow, ice packs on my head, trying to stop the pain. And for the most part, when you are having them that often, you can't take any painkillers because you are at risk of overdosing just on painkillers to treat the migraines that are causing you so much pain.
So that took you to an even darker space. Tell us about
Yes. So I had been suffering like this for probably 5 or 6 months, and it was getting worse and worse. And eventually, I had exhausted all the avenues at work. I asked for flexi time, I asked for a sabbatical, I asked for reduced working hours, all to give my body time to heal and actually reset. And basically, the HR policies all said no. I didn't qualify, or they didn't want to go down that route. So I ended up taking the severance package. And I left the company feeling like a failure, feeling like I couldn't add anything to anybody. And so decided that it was my birthday. I didn't want to see my next birthday. And so I picked a date, my expiry date, the date on which my life would come to an end.
Wow. In that place, and you're thinking about that, I know this is, weird, but do you think about different types of ways that you would want to end your life? I've had some friends that commit suicide, and I know this is kind of morbid, and people are saying, why the hell are you asking that? Because, do I want to have a gentle approach, or am I angry with myself? Do I want to hang myself? Do I want to shoot myself? Do I want to take pills? All this is rattling through your mind. Did you think about that as well?
Oh yeah, I had everything planned. Most of my stuff in my apartment was already packed. I was never going to go back to that apartment. It was already packed to go to Goodwill or, to my parents. My best friend had power of attorney over my affairs in Switzerland. Now, she believed it was for that she could do something if the pipes burst, or if the janitor needed to get into my apartment for the window or something. But actually, she had full power over my accounts to deal with everything when it happened. And yeah, in terms of how, yeah, I had a kit. I had everything in place for it to work.
But thank God it didn't work.
But it didn't work, and I didn't use it.
And you didn't. Thank you, God. So what brought you out?
So I decided in the period, having made that decision, having chosen that date, nobody in my life knew how bad I was struggling because I was hiding it from everybody. And so I would do things to make people think I was okay. I went off to LA to attend a speaker training course. I went and visited friends overseas. I went and saw the Northern Lights, all things that were actually on my bucket list, but nobody realized I was working my bucket list. And one of those things was to volunteer. And so I headed to Vietnam. I'd been there for a couple of weeks on like a very short visit, realized that this was a place that even when I was depressed and burnt out, a child needs a hug. A child needs someone to play catch with them. And I could do that. I could still be of use to somebody by doing that. And so decided that that's where I would actually spend my last few months.
And when you got there, what happened?
So I can't really tell you what happened the first couple of months because I was in a really dark place. But for some reason, I decided that I was going to be Father Christmas on my last Christmas. And I'm a fairly big girl. And so I couldn't even buy shorts or a t-shirt in the market because I was just too big compared to Vietnamese. Mm-hmm. And yet I was able to buy a complete Father Christmas outfit. Trousers, jacket, fur trimmed, hat, beard, wig, the lot. I had the glasses, everything. I was like proper kitted out to be Father Christmas. And I spent Christmas Day giving out sweets and chocolates with children, hugging the children, letting them pull my beard, You know, I spent the afternoon with some war veterans, who, they remember Father Christmas from when the Americans were there, and they hadn't seen Father Christmas in 30 years. But
Brains. Father Christmas. I'm sorry. Father Christmas is Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, exactly.
Go ahead.
So, you walk into these rooms where, these vets spend pretty much the whole of their day, and people say they haven't seen them smile, they haven't really spoken in years, and Santa Claus walks through the door, and we sat and we ate biscuits and bananas. We couldn't really converse, but sometimes you don't need a whole load of words to have a really impactful session. Just
Right.
sat with somebody.
Right.
And
Right.
as we went to leave that day, they told us that one of the young girls was actually not going to make it through the night, and that we should say our goodbyes. And so I went into a room in the orphanage that I had never been in before. I didn't know this little girl, but something told me I was supposed to say goodbye. And I walked in. She's in a crib with 4 or 5 other children. She's grey. You can tell that she's incredibly sick. And I leant over the crib, and she puts her hand up into my beard. And I watched that little girl fight for every single breath. She's got a couple of hours left on Earth, and she's still fighting. Yet she's been abandoned by her family because she's sick, she's ill, she would never have been given an education because she's disabled, she's considered worthless in their community, and yet she wants to fight for every single breath. And it was that moment, it was like, you know what? I have everything she could ever have dreamed of. A family, I'm educated, I'm traveling halfway around the world to volunteer and do things that, I've always wanted to do. Why am I trying to give up? And that was the moment, I breathed with her for, a minute, maybe a minute and a half, and then left, and was suddenly like, my goodness, there's a reason for me to breathe. I just need to find it. And that was when I found it.
Wow. Wow. I'm so glad that you took that breath.
Yes.
The breath is the very first gift that the Creator gave us. And so
Absolutely.
honor that and, take it into consideration. There's people that can't breathe, that they feel that they're suffocating. What would you tell a person that's in that dark space right now?
What became very apparent for me over the next 2 years as I went through my own healing journey was that all of the people that I wanted to hide how I was struggling from would actually have been there for me 100% if I had told them what was going on. I eventually had to tell my mum what I'd been thinking of. That's one of the hardest conversations I had, but now we have a stronger relationship than ever. And it's not always easy to ask for help, but that's the one thing I would encourage people to do. Just speak to one person, whether that's, a hotline, whether that's an anonymous number that you can call and you will get, assistance at the other end, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member that you trust, whether it's a teacher, because this is happening at all ages in our society now. But actually just opening up and saying, I'm struggling, I'm not okay, lets people help you.
Right. Let people help you. So you've written a book. Tell us about it.
Yes. I was part of a book called Activate Your Life. So 50 coaches from around the world have all written a chapter for this book. And it's, exercises that can help you move your life forward or activate your life.
Let me see it. I know you
here.
Yeah, look at that.
So yeah.
Activate Your Life. That's on Amazon. Is that on
It
Amazon?
is on Amazon. Yeah.
All right. And she's going to send us a copy. So you're going to be in it to win. So tell us a little bit about your chapter. What did you put in there?
So one of the very first, when I finished that Christmas Day, I realized, and even Einstein says it, the level of thinking that created the problem cannot solve it. And I realized that I would need help to, whatever the future plan for me was, I needed somebody to help guide me on that journey. And so I had reached out to a coach and had started working with him. And the chapter in the book is a sort of, it's a version of one of the exercises that he did with me. It's called Priority Happy, and it's about putting you back into your life at the same level that you would prioritize your work. So when I was burnt out, my calendar would have conference calls, coaching calls, meetings, time to write agenda, time to prepare a presentation. And as long as that was on my agenda, it was non-negotiable. It was work and it got done. But everything on my calendar that was for me, the gym, meeting people, going for dinner, finishing early, those were negotiable. You know, if work came up, they were immediately, I'm sorry, I can't make dinner. I have to do this presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to fly to Vietnam tomorrow. I can't make dinner. And this goes through finding things that make you smile. So the way to break down depression, burnout, anxiety is to actually trick your brain into thinking that you're happy. And the easiest way to do that is to smile. Because once you smile, and all those muscles in your face have to take part in that, your body automatically starts to produce the happy hormones.
1 second. Somebody's ringing in. Maybe somebody wants to smile. Yeah. Hello and welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney. Wait a minute. Hello and welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney. We are interviewing right now. Can you believe that? With Sarah Ross. Are you calling because you need to smile? Are you calling because you're not happy, or maybe you're feeling depressed, or maybe even having thoughts of suicide? Well, I tell you what you do. Hang up and tune into the podcast and get more information, okay? We'll talk to you soon. Bye, brains. Seriously, that person was really listening on the call. They might have needed help. Thanks so much.
They may have. Yeah.
All right, baby doll, continue.
Yeah. So when we smile and all those muscles in your face start, moving and twitching, then your brain starts to produce the happy hormones.
Okay.
And those are ones that don't get produced if you are super stressed. So when you're in this stressed situation, we go right back to caveman days, where it's fight or flight.
Right.
It's you running or being dinner for the dinosaur. And we still have that hormone in our body, adrenaline, cortisol, all these things trigger when we get stressed. And the one thing that then we stop producing are the happy hormones, dopamine, and those sort of things, serotonin.
Right.
And by smiling, we actually trigger those. So by giving ourselves 30 seconds of a smile, 5 minutes of laughing, we can actually break down the power that the darkness and the depression has on us. And so it's like stacking it up. The first day, just try and smile for 10 seconds. Just try it, put something on, find something on YouTube, find a comedian you like and listen for 5 minutes. It might be one joke that he tells, but as soon as you start laughing, the depression loses a bit of its power. And so Priority Happy is saying what you need is a list of things that make you smile, things that make you laugh and bring you joy. And then what's key is actually putting them into your schedule. So making time every day for 2 or 3 of those things on your list. Now, when it was first described to me, I was like, okay, I haven't smiled in quite a few months, years at this point. So I was like, oh, what makes me happy? Well, breathing. I was really not able to find examples. And so my coach encouraged me to think about what had made me smile as a child. What did I run home from school? Absolutely. I'll do my homework as quickly as I can so that I can. And there's an activity that finishes that sentence.
Right.
Now, for me, it was always a book. I had my head in a book. I was a bookworm. If I wasn't reading, I was in the library getting another book. So when he said that, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even have any books in my room. Yet when I was a child growing up, one whole wall was bookcases. And I realized I hadn't read a book in like 2 years.
Mm,
And that following weekend, we went to the bookshop and I walked out with 7 books.
wow.
And I made reading part of every day after that.
Wow. You know, a lot of people here do laugh yoga. I did,
Laugh yoga.
yeah. It's a laughing yoga class. I was like, these people are on something.
I I think I do laugh yoga, but it's just because I can't do yoga. So I
Oh,
laugh a lot just doing yoga.
just thinking about doing it. But really it is, like you said, the serotonin in your brain. And I was like, so how am I just gonna make myself laugh? And I did. And you know, I was exhausted. My face was hurting, and but it was just a different vibe. It was just a different energy. It was a different exercise. So laughter and smiles and conversations with people, trusting people. There's always someone you can talk to. We just had another great guest that was on our show last week, and she was from Newfoundland,
You
yeah,
found them, yeah?
Newfoundland, Canada, and she talked about the work that she does with suicide coaches to help people, you know, through these dark places and how they coach them. So that's what you're doing now. You have now turned this into a new career for you. Tell us a little bit about your coaching and what you're pouring into people.
So I have a couple of programs. The first one is called the Burnout Freedom Formula, where we actually equip people with the tools, mainly in corporations, to beat burnout, to actually not let burnout take over.
Mm,
This is so much more than just being resilient. These are the skills and looking at where people are struggling in their lives and allowing them to build up their superpowers in those areas. So if they don't know how to manage their time, train them in time management. If they don't know how to manage their whole schedule, then let's look at project management. We also look at exercise, getting enough rest, sleep, diet, all these different things that contribute to you being the best version of yourself. And then my own personal favorite is a program called Reset, Recharge, and Thrive, which is one-to-one coaching, where we look at where people have burnt out previously and we literally just say goodbye to it. You know, it's almost like writing a letter to your past life and saying thank you for the lessons. And then we move on to where people need to be. And the whole thrive part of this is about, where do you want to be? What are you dreaming about? What does your dream lifestyle look like? Now, for me, that dream lifestyle is not about going back to a corporate job. It's about helping people coaching.
yeah.
You know, I've done it. I've tried to go back. I didn't enjoy it. It's not me at my best. But that's not to say, you know, I have clients for whom it is exactly where they're supposed to be.
Right, right.
And they just need to make some lifestyle choices around making their environment healthier, safer, securer, less depressing for
Mhm.
them to actually thrive in. Um,
Let me ask you a question about corporations, because know that you have a responsibility to your employees. If you've got someone there that is teetering on the edge or on the brink, you know what's going on in the world. I don't have to tell you. They're going in here and they killing up everybody because they're stressed. If you are not giving them time, if you're not offering courses, if you're not, you know, gauging into them and it's just work, 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 oh, you are going to have to pay the price one way or another in a workers' comp claim, or something is going to happen. So I want you to speak to these corporations, how you can go into them and to do some workshops and to have some coaches, even if it's online. I mean, you know, you can you can have teleconferences and teletraining that people really need to know, and these HR people need to know that brains need a break from time to time, and to honor that. These are not,
Absolutely.
they're not mechanical animals. They are human beings, and so you need to be able to know what's going on and to provide resources and time for people to take a break. What would you say to these corporations, Sarah?
For me, the conversation needs to change. This isn't about having a policy in place for mental health in the workplace, offering a standard training course. This is about treating employees as people and actually respecting them for what they bring and knowing that everybody has a point at which they need to stop and recharge. And that's not just vacation time. You know, we've all been on projects where, you know, the deadline is looming, everybody puts in a few more hours and it all gets done and we celebrate and then we're straight into the next project. And the same thing happens over and over again. And I would invite any manager, any team leader to actually ask themselves whether they know what their employee has to deal with outside of work.
Hmm.
Do your employees have kids? Are they doing the carpool? You know, do they coach the soccer ball team, the softball team, the football team? You know, all these things that are commitments for them outside of the work hours that are important to them. Do you even know what they're trying to do? You know, we get to that point where, you know, there are orphans in Vietnam whose name is Van Zoy or Zoy, and it actually translates as no name, no family.
Mm.
And it's like, can you imagine if that was what you had on your name tag even before somebody spoke to you? You already know so much more about them. And it's like, but we do it in our society as well. You know, we call people the barista, the concierge. It's like there is a title and this person happens to have that title, but we don't know anything about them. And so for me, the mental health movement is not about saying, oh, I need the most resilient team I can have, and therefore we shall have a resilience team training. And it's like, yeah, but there is somebody in your team who stresses as soon as they leave the house because they don't want to fail at work. They've got bills to pay. Maybe they've got medical bills. Maybe they're caring for somebody at home. They've only got a certain number of hours.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you've also got someone in the same team who may not get stressed until they're jumping out of an airplane at 25,000 feet with a parachute tied to their back.
Right.
And because we are all so unique, if you're not having normal conversations about what people did at the weekend or, you know, oh, did you have a nice evening? And finding out those little details, it's really difficult to then see when somebody's struggling.
Mm. Right. Well, you know, a lot of times people don't want to get involved. Oh, I don't want to be involved in their personal life. But you know what? Their personal life is what they bring to their professional life.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a correlation. You don't have to be their best buddy, but you do need to be engaged. This is a part of managing a team, understanding the individual, promoting this person, understanding if maybe their workload is too much. Maybe you need to dial back a little bit. It is about work-life balance. We're not mechanical animals. I tell you, brains, we're
Yep.
not machines. We are human beings, and you are a stellar human being. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, if they want to work with you, if you're doing some conferences, if you're coming out and doing some training. How can they get more of Sarah Ross?
So best way to reach me is we have a Facebook page called Your Reason to Breathe. There I share more of my stories. We have insights into how to look after your mental health. So, you know, if you want to come on and join us over there, that would be fantastic. You can also reach us at the website, yourreasontobreathe.com. You have the option there to actually contact me via email at sarah@yourreasontobreathe.com. You'll notice the pattern here. And you can book a 30-minute call with me. It's called a burnout awareness check. The link is usually in the Facebook page where we can actually talk about what's getting to you, what needs to change. And sometimes all it takes is 15 minutes and a slight tweak in something that you're doing, and actually you can benefit from that. Or we can discuss options where you can work with me on a more, you know, longer term basis to actually get you to that point where you are thriving.
Or you can interrupt the podcast and make a phone call.
Yeah.
No, Brains, I'm here for you. I told you I'm going wide, I'm going deep like a quarterback in the NFL because I love you and I really want you to thrive. And I want you to know the warning signs, and that if something is going wrong, know that somebody cares. I care. Sarah cares. Okay? There's going to be a telephone number at the bottom of this interview for a 24-hour suicide lifeline. We don't want to call it, you know, crisis, because it's a lifeline. telephone number that you can call here in the U.S.? I don't know if you have one there in the UK.
We have them in the UK. I'll give you the number.
Want to give me the number? And I want you to reach out. Maybe you're not in the position to go to Vietnam and find your reason to breathe, but sometimes all you got to do is look at the person next to you and offer them a smile. I think that you are awesome sauce, and thank you so much for being here on The Edge. Brains, I need you to go back, check out other edgy conversations. We've got some stuff that's not so heavy. It's light, it's fun. Just going to come back and tell us about how she's winning and all the great things that she's doing. Maybe you even take us on a trip to Vietnam with you and share with us some of the information that you're working with to help the orphanage and help the children there, because I want to hear about that. Just
Absolutely.
Take your phone or take your laptop, okay? All right. Thank you so much for being here on The Edge.
Thank you, April.
All right, brains. Have an exceptional day. Smile, because if you don't, you're not going to be too happy. Bye, guys.